All right, it's 5 p.m. The entity's flying right over my office. And they're pacing around in the environment. Right, and this is the LAPD that's doing so under the light source, which is right here over my head at 5 p.m. This is the same environment where the entity is having a so-called sunrise. And on this day in 2022, I'm capturing video at 5:19 p.m. at 5:35 p.m. And you will see what is entirely distinct from being located, just like I showed you this morning as I stood at this same location right here in front of my office. This is the pattern of conduct. This is stalking by airplane right over in the natural environment, in the specific environment as well. Group stalking by plane, amplifying helicopter activity. And this morning, while the light source was over here, my shadow was here. The light source is at the same address, and now my shadow is here. Look at the two videos, you're understanding and witnessing the specific environment. And the light source remains here as a matter of evidence, which is from the beginning to the end of the day. In the specific environment, the government has no warrant or probable cause to engage in what is a demonic method of group stalking an American citizen in concert with the people of the state who maintain corporate presence in that specific environment as well, jointly, corporately practicing demonic activity. Her shadow just moved across this wall. That's exactly what P.O.C. engaged in. That's the malice of the demon-possessed who are stalking you and monitoring in concert with the state. That's Hector Aparicio crossing path on the opposite side under what is the light source. This is over the community from the beginning to the end of the day. It's not the natural environment. And the entity is engaged in what is ongoing stalking, and that's identifying a stalker. That's also knowledge of what is their condition. It's highly malicious, which is synonymous with what is demonic. And it's done in concert with the state that engages in what is the most terrorizing method that could be conjured up, which is by helicopter. And this is specifically characterizing the demonic and that very deranged desire to horrify and terrorize an American citizen whom they're placing under surveillance. And that is the hallmark, again, as I've spoken to, the pattern of conduct literally identified through the stalking behavior through these law enforcement agencies in helicopter in the readily identifiable specific environment where the so-called sun is never going to be present for the duration of the day. I'm at the same property, okay? And just like you saw on the map, at 1806 is where my apartment is. My apartment is here. This is supposedly the sunrise facing my apartment, the living room window, and I am at building 1810. So, as I stated, the light source is necessarily moving to remain in line with me, visible outside of my leasing office window. I cannot see the sun. That would not be, first of all, hunkering down, visible through these windows. You have what is a light source that's hunkering down low enough and then shooting light horizontally. No, the engineered light that you see inside of the private space has nothing to do with the actual light source, as you've seen it appearing totally separate from the appearance of the light source, reaching underneath doorways. That's not sunlight. And you have what is appearing when you're looking at it on a map. This is a big picture of what the entity is doing. The light source is supposedly rising. This is supposedly the sun that's rising. And over building 18, after 6 p.m., I'm looking out my bedroom window of the same building, 1806, and I'm looking at what is supposedly a sunset. That's not the natural environment while I'm at the same address. This is the property of what is Alvarado Gardens. This is the environment where the entity is engaging in what is the American version of terrorism. This is not Afghanistan. They are actually doing this in the state of California, and this is terrorizing American citizens using helicopters to do so. And they're doing so, this is a practice of what is demonic activity. This is referencing what is the secret society, and the secret society needs to be known. The secret society is a demon-possessed population, and they are engaging in what is stalking American citizens as a unit. And this is what the government is engaging in. The government is sponsoring it. The government is relying on the people of the state, and they maintain presence. And also, they're not only present ignorantly. When you're looking at engineer light moving across the venue, like you saw Universal Waste, and that is a third-party group stalker who is a demon. And while he is driving a vehicle, engineer light is moving across the building. That's another iteration when you're seeing it inside of a building, inside of my office, as you see it inside of my apartment, speaking to the surrounding behavior of demons who are monitoring you as well. It's the same pattern of conduct. It's occurring in a different way. So when you're inside of a room by yourself, for example, or when you're entering into a room for purposes of keeping you surrounded, you're always surrounded. The engineer light is always present while demons are maintaining presence all around you, activity all around you, and the demons use helicopters and airplanes as well. This is what is state surveillance in the state of California, which is in the United States. This is not Afghanistan. You have what are American citizens that are subject to what are demonic methods of what is stalking It is stalking that's underway by government. It is group stalking. Group stalking is that which is practiced by the demon possessed. And this is their character, the condition, excuse me, of those that are engaging in group stalking. So I want to be clear, not just an obsessed person is engaging in what is stalking. Stalking is born of obsession. This obsession is that which is occurring because of the condition, which is not physical. The condition is recognized, it is identified, it is known conclusively through the maintenance of the demonic environment. The sun rising and setting at one address. This is the evidence of what are the demon possessed that are stalking somebody in a specific environment. They're crossing path, meaning they're group stalking you while engineered light moves across surfaces, which is an impossible occurrence as well. They are crossing path and coming into contact with you, maintaining presence all around you with the ongoing impossible maintenance of what is engineered light, as you've seen inside of my office and in my apartment. And what needs to be recognized is that the entity is engaging in what is entirely demonic, doing so through the corrupt law enforcement agencies in this country, using helicopters to. And that is the significance of what has been identified as hallmark. This is the hallmark. This is the shared hallmark amongst all of the police departments that are documented engaging in what is the environment, which I'm showing you at 5:19 p.m. That's not the sun over me as I'm capturing on video while it's hovering right here over me while I'm standing at the same location I was at this morning. The light source is basically just on the opposite side of my same person as I'm at the same address as I was inside of my apartment, the same property, okay? And that's the pattern of conduct. That's the demon possessed who are engaging in what is corporate stalking, group stalking, gang stalking, which is demonic activity, okay? And that is the grounds, by the way, for what is federal prosecution for terrorism, understanding America's version of terrorism. It is that which is underway by the government, and it is occurring in the state of California, and it is practiced and sponsored by the government itself, which is, again, the ongoing corroborating evidence against the people of the state. All third parties that live here, all 59 units are filled with third-party group stalkers, and this is the demon-possessed population that are going to federal prison for this. And the government, you're talking about disbanding them. The Los Angeles Sheriff's Department documenting, you're talking about disbanding them. You're talking about what is the necessary inclusion of the federal government to come in and be hands-on because of the removal of so many bodies of law enforcement agencies, so many aspects of the government that are literally infected with this condition, and you're showing the public safety concern that is inherent to this exposure and the criminal conduct that they are engaging in as a mass population in strategic places in American society, monitoring you and threatening your life, literally murdering American citizens and getting away with it, remaining and controlling the narrative, because gang stalking is not new. And then you're giving a narrative by things, disappearances of people and, random, unheard of, or no explanation given for what is the unfounded or untimely death of American citizens. I'm just giving you examples of things that you're looking at on the news. And the reality is the facts and circumstances that you're not aware of is that in America, the government is monitoring people and doing away with them, okay? And then controlling the narrative. And that's exactly what you do as a corrupt law enforcement agency that is also demon possessed. That's speaking to what is great, evil, and wicked. Stalking in a helicopter is the most terrifying method that they could think of, which is also unheard of and so highly deranged that your mind can't even fathom it. But for the pattern of conduct, but for the P.O.C. It is the direct evidence of it, the insurmountable evidence of what is unmistakable stalking in a readily identifiable environment where the sun is rising and setting. That's the demon possessed that are stalking in that environment. That's the evidence of the demon possessed, by the way, because that's unnatural. It's a scientific impossibility. It's also a scientific impossibility that sunlight ricochets off of objects while you're just driving a vehicle. All right, where the evidence is speaking to the light source, as I've gone to the extent of showing you at the same time, even on the same day. All right, you have what is the light source in an entirely different location. That's not the sun over you, and that's also not sunlight that's going to ricochet onto surfaces. That's the demon possessed and they're stalking, and they engage in what is psychological terror as a unit, as an entity. And this is going on in the United States. It's America's version of what is terrorism. It is currently 5:11 p.m. And so you're going to reference the videos, which I will upload to the Compare the P.O.C. folder. And the entity is maintaining a light source while I am nowhere near not only Alvarado Gardens, where the sun is rising and setting. And again, that's why I refer to it as the fake sun, as the light source, because it's not the sun. It's not the natural environment. And there is no expert that can get on the stand in any federal prosecution and state otherwise. They're going to confirm exactly what I'm telling you. And they will have no natural explanation for it. Because this is not over any building in this position, creating any such light activity, creating any of the light activity that you see in my apartment or in my office, let alone outside. When you're looking at shadows moving across when somebody's at a distance, that's impossible light activity. That's a demon that's stalking you and doing it right in front of your face. Doing so in concert with the corrupt law enforcement agencies who are demons seeking to terrorize you and harass you while they come right in your face and cross path That's what the demons are doing, and they're engaging in that on an ongoing basis while federal stalking in violation of Title 18 is also underway. This is the criminal surveillance of the entirety of the existence of an American citizen, and this is what's going on in this country in concert with those that are companies and brands and public places that you go to, Walmart, Starbucks. All right, they're monitoring you. Okay, at Amazon Prime, they're monitoring you. All right, and this is speaking to what is a pattern of conduct in every area of society, providing all of the instrumentalities, using their planes, using their vehicles, their employees, their places of business, including where they live. This is the documentation of a massive amount, a population. And this community is engaging in what I've documented, the community is engaging in an entirely different region. That's beyond a coincidence. It's impossible that it would be anything other than a pattern, because there's too many circumstances that are outside of the control. It is the P.O.C. exactly as I've shown it. All right, it is again 5:13 p.m. and this is P.O.C.